Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she backed away from the figure, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The shadow moved closer, its form indistinct but menacing. The whispers resumed, louder now, echoing off the walls. "You can't escape, Sarah. You belong to us." In a frantic bid for survival, Sarah reached for the candle, her only source of light, and hurled it at the shadow. The flame flickered out as it passed through the figure, doing nothing to stop its advance. The room plunged into total darkness, and Sarah felt a cold presence surround her, suffocating her with its malice. She stumbled backward, her hands searching desperately for something, anything to defend herself. But the room was empty, devoid of any hope or salvation. The whispers grew louder, almost deafening now, filling her mind with terror. She could feel the shadowy figure drawing nearer, its cold breath brushing against her skin. Suddenly, she heard a faint knock on the door behind her. It was followed by another, then another, each one louder and more insistent. Sarah's back hit the door, and she fumbled for the doorknob, her fingers trembling. But before she could turn it, the knocking stopped, replaced by a low, guttural growl. The door flew open, and Sarah was pulled through by an unseen force, the whispers following her into the hallway. She was thrown to the ground, her head spinning as she tried to regain her bearings. The walls seemed to close in on her, the darkness pressing down from all sides. She crawled forward, her hands scraping against the rough floor, but there was nowhere to go. The growling grew louder, closer, and Sarah knew the end was near. She felt the cold fingers of the shadow wrap around her throat, tightening with each passing second. Her vision blurred as the life was squeezed out of her, the whispers chanting her name in a twisted symphony of horror. Just as she felt herself slipping into unconsciousness, she heard a distant voice calling out to her, breaking through the cacophony of whispers. It was familiar, comforting, like a lifeline in the darkness. "Sarah, Sarah, wake up." Her eyes flew open, and she found herself lying on the floor of her apartment, the morning sun streaming through the windows. She was drenched in sweat, her body trembling with fear. It had all been a dream, or so she thought. But as she sat up, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. On the floor beside her was a small, flickering candle, just like the one from her dream. And from the shadows in the corner of the room, she heard a faint whisper. "We'll be waiting, Sarah."